Okay, welcome everyone. This is the third meeting for Term 4 2024 on China Today. So I'm going to, first of all, uh, again, I will share screen. This one, share. Okay, and if you have any questions, please interrupt me at any time. We talk about China geography, and we also talk about China's ethnic groups. We have at least 55 recognized minority groups in China. And this week, there is uh, the 12 China minority groups athletic meeting in Highland Island. This one, I would like to look at the complexity in China. China is very complicated in a lot of sense, but this time I will only focus on the manufacturing. The Chinese technology is very extensive and complex. The driving force for all this is the hyper competitive nature of the domestic market. This has been true for the past 2,000, 3,000 years. The Chinese market has always been very competitive. Historically, the Chinese do have a class system, although the class system has more mobility than other society. The upper level, the top level, of course, is the monarchy, the royal family. Underneath the royal family, since the first emperor, the royal family has already learned that don't give the military power to its relatives. The military power must be held by the emperor himself. Nobody can hold the military power so that there will not be revolts from relatives. Of course, the emperor will not be directly leading the army in any battle. So the right to activate any military actions depends on two parts. One part is, of course, the generals and all the armies themselves. So they hold a token. The token is half of a token. With this token, he is able to train the army, to mobilize the army within, for example, a limited area, usually a province. If the army need to go out of that province, then he need another half of that token, which is held by the emperor. The emperor can give him the token so that he can move the military to other part of the country or to the border to defend China. So after that, then of course the government has to be run by officials. So underneath this monarchy is this second layer of officials running the government. Under that, we have the farmer. Traditionally, Chinese has very put a strong emphasis on the provision of food, having a large population. If there's famine, then that will be a big problem. So traditionally, the government have been treating the farmer with very high expectation as well as prestige. Then the level down there is the skilled workers, the ones who make all the tools. and merchants has always have the lowest class in the society. Although many of the time the merchants will have very rich family because they make a lot of money. But if you are getting more and more money, then you will have the risk of being targeted by officials or the emperor. You have too much money, then it is a good piece of meat, so to speak, to eat. So these merchants have to seek protection. Of course, the protections cannot come from the workers, which is quite low, and not from the farmers, because most of the time, although in the society, farmer has a high prestige, but they are usually very poor. They are farming their own land, and after giving the tax, what's left is almost just able to have a decent life, and sometimes even not. So they they have to seek protection either from the officials or from the royal family, and therefore the royal family usually has a lot of merchants groups under their name. They control trade in a sense. For China, trade is either domestic or international. Domestic trades, then we will have to look at the trading between, let's say, the ordinary people. Now, the ordinary people isn't very rich. Yes, there are quite a bit of rich families, but anyway, generally, the population isn't very rich. So trading with them will be related to more common goods, um, essentially daily essentials and so forth. These merchant groups make their money not by trading within China. When they trade within China, they are selling commodities, and selling commodities also means very high competition from other merchants groups, from other royal families or officials. So many of them will run international trade through the Silk Road, bring China's products like tea, silk, um, China, which is just fried pottery or porcelain, this kind of stuff, sell this kind of stuff, and then collect back is spices, uh, various rare articles, and so forth. Now, China itself is lack of farm animals. Yes, China do breed cow, cows of ox, but China doesn't have good horse breeds. So usually this international trade, they will bring back um, different kinds of spices, horses, camels. These are the usual trading. Or some luxury goods like pearls, like the cor coral reef, which the Chinese like, especially those red corals and so forth. The luxury goods they bring back has a very small market. They are mainly aimed towards the higher level of the officials or the royal family. So the whole trade system in China almost divided into two parts. I mean, historically, one is these luxury goods, high value goods, and they are usually bartered between the officials or the royal families, relatives, and so forth. When it is facing the necessity of the common people, for example, scissors is a very um, standard items almost every family will have, especially when the family is in, Chinese produce a lot of silk and also a lot of embroideries. That means making beautiful patterns using sewing techniques and so forth. Scissors will be needed. And all these royal families, all their trade groups will be selling scissors. Then they will have to compete against each other, making use of the workers who can produce better scissors and sell more. So Chinese has always been very competitive because all these merchants groups are backed by power in the society, and they want to make money, and this money go back into these powerful men, either in the royal family or in the government officials. Therefore, they have money to invest into innovation, and then they want to capture market. But once you have an innovation, there's not much of a intellectual property protection. So other groups will see, that's good, then I can copy and then do something else. Therefore, the competition has been very keen, very competitive. That has traditionally continued even to today. Now, today, we the People's Republic of China started off as a communist society. One argument from the communist theory is that a capitalist society have different classes of people. Capitalist class, the worker class, and etc. What they see is that when we have an organization which is making profit, creating wealth, making profit, how the profit is distributed? Well, in a capitalist society, the profit go to the shareholders. And in the name of maximizing the profit, they minimize the wages of the workers. And that's where the communist criticism come in. The people who created the wealth is not the capital. It's not the capitalists. It's the workers working for the organization, which produce goods, and these goods, after being sold, create a profit for the organization. But this profit is not shared with the workers. And therefore, the criticism of the communist theory towards capitalism is the unfairness of sharing of the wealth created by the workers. They imagine a world where there's no capitalists. All the workers own everything. And therefore, it comes to the idea of communist. Everybody is the same. You work for the organization make money, everybody get the same share of the value created. Whether it's good or not, well, that is another theory, another argument. China started with this. So China want to, the modern China, the People's Republic of China created in 1949. It started as a communist society. Of course, there are other things in the communist society, like all the manufacturing is controlled at the top, etc. But the idea that there's no class in the society, well, we all know that from the Animal Farms, George Orwell. Some animals are more equal than the other. Okay. Anyway, um, although it's no class, then it had to do something to demonstrate that. So China basically has made men and women quite equal. Of course, in today's marriage, is still the women marry a man, and then the children take on the name of the father, take on the shared name of the father rather than when the woman. But there are counterexamples. For example, um, the telecom giant Huawei, the founder, uh, his surname is Yum, but his daughters take on their mother's surname rather than his surname. So that is, for example, the her daughter being held by Canada, surname is Mang, which is different from his Yum, a two different surname, because her daughter took her mother's surname as her surname. So that's demonstrate the equalness of gender in China, quite equal. And today, whether you work as a workers or as a literal man like teachers of or a sales or a manuf or service worker or factory workers, they all have equal rights in China. So China is now certainly quite socially. Um, the ranking is more like by the wealth created by the person rather than um, because of its um, birth or because of their work. And we also remember that China started in 1949, pretty poor. And the first thing after the Chinese government formed is take back all the land. That means purging the landlords. And therefore, this new batch of wealthy people in China have created wealth all by themselves. It is not inherent because 1949, when New China is formed, almost almost all the wealth is being destroyed or taken by the government because it started with as a communist party, a communist society. Of course, later on we know that China today doesn't call themselves communists; they call themselves socialists. There's a bit of difference there, and then it's also qualified the socialists with Chinese characteristics. But we have to remember that the current wealthy people in China are first generation wealthy people at the moment. Again, we have so many different uh, ethnic groups. We have so many different cultures. And therefore, for example, in terms of just chicken eggs, this is a typical chicken eggs market. This particular store only sells chicken eggs. Just from the color of the eggs, you know that these come from different chickens. So if you want to compete in a ultra competitive market, you either compete by cutting your price to the point where there's no profit, or diversify. I sell duck eggs You sell ghost eggs. I sell this kind of chicken egg, or he sell that kind of chicken egg. By providing a lot of varieties, the market is actually segmented. The egg market to us is just egg market. We don't in Australia here. We don't recognize what breed of chicken produce that egg. We also don't have that egg available in our supermarket. We don't have goose egg available in our supermarket. But in China, duck eggs are available. Goose eggs are available. Also, we have salted eggs and the 1,000-day eggs, except 1,000 years egg, etc. We have all kinds of variety of eggs.
Albert,
Yes, yes.
I think your shared screen is incorrect at the moment.
What is I'm sharing? Do you see egg?
You've got crux on there. There's no eggs, so I think
Oh,
something's gone wrong.
okay. Let me stop the share and let's try again. Maybe I put that onto this side of my screen and share again. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, do again. Share. Where's egg here? Okay, do you see eggs now?
Yeah,
Yes.
lots of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, you see different kinds of eggs here. And even those eggs are brown screen eggs, you will see that they are, sorry. How many? Yes. Sorry about the interruption. But anyway, uh, we see different kinds of eggs. That's what I'm talking about. The Chinese market, because of this high competition, must be segmented in order to survive. But in some cases, the segmentation is impossible, too similar. So the only way that is compete in price. When you compete in price, then you drive the price down. So a typical observation of Chinese innovation, when China make a breakthrough, for example, in bridge building, then other engineering teams will come up with similar bridge building techniques. Maybe it's different in a little way, but almost the same. And therefore, you have a choice. When you have a choice, you drive down the cost. So there is a saying that for all the technology which is mastered by China, the price went down. What is happening today, for example, in the PV industry, the um, solar cell factory, the solar cells, from about 2014, when China started producing these solar panels, to today, the price has dropped by 90%. Although there's one major um, solar panel production, which account for about 80% of the market, but that remaining 20% market is still driving this 80% market holder to continuous to drive down the cost. That has happened in almost every industry. For example, at the moment, China has overtaken Japan as the world's largest vehicle export country. In 2023, the ratio of electric vehicles to normal these internal engine vehicles is about 1 to 2. About 1/3 is electrical vehicles. This year, I will expect China's electrical vehicles production will exceed its internal combustion engine vehicles. The 100,000 electrical vehicles got out from the factory in November. The 100,000 no 1,000,000 is yes 100 million, not 100,000, sorry, 100 no 10 million. Okay, the 10 million electrical vehicles has gotten out from the factory this November in China.
Albert, sometimes we read that there's overproduction in China and they won't sell a lot of the products that they're producing. Is that true?
No. Why it's not true? Because the waiting time for electrical vehicles in China. So now, the Chinese government has a limitation on using internal combustion engine. So you want to buy an internal combustion engine, you have to put in a request, and every month the local government will have a draw, and you are lucky, you draw the card, then you can buy a internal combustion engine. But if you buy a electrical vehicle, you don't have to go to the draw. That's the number one. And then you also have government subsidy. So electrical vehicles, people, that's why Chinese people are buying electrical vehicles. At the moment, Huawei team up with a car manufacturer to produce self-driving electrical vehicles. On the day it is announced, they get 1 million orders, and people have to wait about 8 months to get their vehicle. So there is a wait in China for electrical vehicles, and even that they are still sending a bit of electrical vehicles overseas for sale. So it is only the Western media saying that the electrical vehicle market is overproduction. No, the Chinese people have to wait for their order. That means it is not overproduction.
No, but as a one-time MG enthusiast and owner, I
Sorry again?
noticed that as a one-time owner, I just noticed recently that the MG brand of electrical vehicle now accounts for 60% of all the electrical car sales in China. Not bad.
Yeah. Electrical vehicles have a lot of brands in China. And for example, the current best seller is BYD. BYD is the number of electrical vehicles sold by BYD has already overtaken Tesla. although Tesla is manufactured in Shanghai in its super factory. And the Chinese are buying electrical vehicles. About 60% of the new cars in China is electrical vehicles. Yes. Now, with that in mind, we now have the overall understanding of the Chinese market. It is highly competitive. They try to segment the market so that they can each survive with a segment of the market. Just like what we have here in Australia, even for cars. We have smaller cars aiming for local travels. We have the sedan, and then we have the hatchback, and we also have the Uke. Is that called with a front cap with a goods tray at the back? What's it's called a Ute? And also we have different kinds of vehicles. The same. You have to segment the market in order to survive. And then even within each segment, for example, sedan, you also segment it between for a more common level to a very luxurious level and different levels of features in order to survive. And then the problem is once you have a special feature in your luxury level, then it is quickly moved down, and then you have to create new luxury items in order to keep your position. For example, the luxury vehicles in China, the driver's seat and the passenger seat next to the driver has massage in the seat. So you sit there, press a button, and then the massage starts. Of course, this is also has electric heating and cooling. They have to go like that in order to compete. Another example is payment system. We know that in China, almost everybody will have to generate a QR code, print the QR code out somewhere, and then people scan your code and then can able to pay you money. So that is online payment. I have been to China twice, last year in November and this year in March. The first time in China, it almost took me a month to be able to really travel alone in China because I need to get my online payment system set up. So in the second trip in March this year, I was able to bring my wife to China and then pay using online payments. Now, there are two major online payments related to two main social media platforms. Well, and one of them is not actually social media. Now, we all know Alibaba. Alibaba is the company name. And under Alibaba, there is the world's largest online shopping website, Taobao. And it has its outside of the international version, which AliExpress. All these support its own payment system. It's called Alipay, just like eBay. eBay bought PayPal. So usually we go here, we want to pay somebody, pay something, we go through PayPal. In China, if you are buying something, most of them will go through Alipay. But the WeChat in China is very common. Almost every Chinese has a WeChat account. And WeChat also have its WeChat Pay. So that if I have a WeChat account, you have a WeChat account, then I can send you money without any transaction fees. Very convenient. And if I want to be a little uh, seller in the market, what I need is print my QR code out and display that. People scan my QR code and then they can pay me. When the payment arrives, then a message is sent to your account. So there are devices which will translate that message into sound. So for example, I'm buying some vegetables. Then I will have to find out how much it costs me, scan the seller's QR code, and then type in the amount I want to pay. Once I press send, the money is sent electronically, and the seller can hear certain amount of money has arrived. They know they have received your money. Very easy to use. So there are two systems here. One is AliExpress for online shopping on the AliExpress websites. Another one is WeChat. They are for about the first couple of years are not interchangeable. That means you can't use your AliExpress account to pay a WeChat account. The WeChat account cannot pay the AliExpress account. So a lot of people actually have both accounts, AliExpress and WeChat. The government now enforce and make them say that these two, WeChat or AliExpress account, is now integrated together into a Chinese e-wallet. And the money within your e-wallet, whether it is AliExpress or WeChat, flow easily within your account. So when you pay, you use your e-wallet. If the seller use AliExpress, then it will take the money out of your AliExpress account. If the seller, if your AliExpress account doesn't have the sufficient fund, then your e-wallet will automatically take your money from the WeChat to fill up your AliExpress account in order to pay the AliExpress account. That has been enforced so that it is now streamlined. Whether you have AliExpress account or WeChat account, you pay whatever people accept the money. Now that is enforced by the Chinese government, making each other must accept each other's payment. That means although people want to segment the market, but the government said, no, you can't segment the market. I want you to merge together. You have your system, fine, but you have to merge together. That created a very complicated market system in China. People want to segment the market, but the government want to merge them together to reduce complications. Another interesting thing about China is it possesses all the United Nations industrial categories. China manufactures everything according to the United Nations industrial categories. China is the only country which produces everything. That means China has a very diverse manufacturing base. Let me move this up from here. Okay. a vast array of products, including vehicles, electronics, textile, machinery, and more, covering all categories within the UN industrial classification. And another thing is, in many sectors, China is the largest producer. What we commonly know is, for example, the rare earth, the rare metals. China is either the largest producer or the largest refiner or the largest exporter and so forth. China also have a very strong supply chain, an extensive network of suppliers and manufacturers allow for efficient production across various industries. I think I had talked about Shenzhen, the city next to Hong Kong. In Shenzhen, there is a little area called Wakeng North. It started off with a number of shopping malls. These shopping malls has stores about the size of one office desk plus a space equal to the office desk. So that is a very small space, maybe 2 meter by 2 meter. But each of these little store usually represent a factory somewhere in Shenzhen or larger Guangdong area, or what they call the larger Greater Bay Area around Shenzhen, Hong Kong. And they produce one specific electronic components. It may be just resistor, it might be just transistor, or it might be only switch. In one floor of this mall, you have approximately a couple hundreds of these little stores there. Among all the floors, there's one floor which only sells your iPhones or whatever phones protective screen, the protective layer. Another floor only sells the case for different kinds of mobile phones. They all specialize, but the specializations allow them to survive. But at the same time, if they spread all over the place, it will be very difficult to compare and then make your buying decision. So they are all concentrated into one shopping mall. People can walk around and then shop for yourself. But of course, it takes a lot of time, even like that. But it is much better than you travel to different parts of China in order to compare the products, because each of these factories have a little showcase house in showroom in the shopping mall. This is very interesting. And then another interesting is in the poor level, the China's China cleared the people under the poverty line in 2020, about December. In 2020 December, there are no people officially living under the extreme poverty line of the United Nations in China. In order to do that, some of the village being so remote, they cannot communicate with the rest of the world. And the land is so poor that they don't produce enough for themselves. And therefore, the whole village are in this extreme poverty situation, what the Chinese government do is move the whole village into somewhere else in order for them to survive. In that somewhere else, you just move them, it doesn't help them because there's no method to survive. So they will introduce a some kind of market for them, either producing something they are they have special skills or a certain market. For example, just okay, you come out and you started raising chickens for eggs, then choose a specific breed of a chicken in order for you to have a specific segment in the market in order to survive. Some village becomes very rich because one member of the village find a particular product edge and use that product edge to improve the wealth of the whole village. And the village next to them will see that, hey, this is a good way to do it. Since people are buying from you, we create something similar. So the production is all geographically concentrated. Just for example, in the bathroom utility, the toilet bowl, 90% of the world's toilet bowl is produced in 3 villages in China. These 3 villages are very close to each other. They specialize in producing toilet bowls. Just toilet bowls, nothing else. This is the kind of concentration and the kind of market segment, because they, in terms of industry, they belong to making porcelains or pottery. They belong to that industry, but they specialize in one of that industry segment. Now, because of that, we have a need of moving things around. The China had just delivered the 100 billion articles of this year in November. 1,000 億. Yeah, not 1 trillion. One level down. 100 billion pieces has been delivered this year, excluding food and beverages, because they doesn't need travel in between the province. The distribution network is very fast in China. For example, in Taobao in China, the seller promised to have the thing you buy in your hand within, say, 24 hours. China is also the top manufacturing country, representing about 31% of the global manufacturing output. Remember, China has about 20% of the world population, but it is manufacturing 31% of the global manufacturing output. That is in 2023. I suspect the data here might be a little bit underestimated. We talk about the online industrial categories. How come I go back? This one. Okay. what really forced China to establish such a complete industrial system is, first of all, thanks to the Western um, technology blockage. You block the technology available to China, China cannot manufacture this thing, then it will have to buy. But you block that China cannot buy that kind of advanced microchips. What can China do? Stop manufacturing with these advanced chips or develop yourself. So because of the Western ideology and the nationalism, then the modern China have a sense of crisis. For example, the International Space Station. US blocked China from participating in the international space stations. They actually have a law set up. It's called the rule WOLF, according to the name of the senator proposing the bill, Wu's bill, blocking any cooperation between NASA and Chinese scientists. If NASA held a conference, the Chinese scientists cannot participate. So what can Chinese do? Well, build their own space station. Now China has a space station in low orbit and usually manned by 3 astronauts. During crew change, then they will have 6 astronauts living in the space station together for a few days before the previous team come back to Earth. There's no choice but to build your own space station because the US ideology blocked China from participating in the international space stations.
Albert?
Yes?
Do you mind me saying something? I just watched a very, very interesting clip from on YouTube. It's called "Europe Doesn't Lack Elites; It Lack Truth," and that's by Yanis Varoufakis, which was a minister in Greece.
Mm.
A minister of finance, I suppose. It's an extremely interesting and different view about why United States does these things to China. And I recommend that you people, if you like, you have a look at it. It was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another good speaker is Jeffrey Sachs.
Yeah.
Who is a American economist. He served in the Clinton's administration, and he also has a very good view about the relationship between United States with Russia and United States with America, with China, and so forth. So that's another people we might like to watch. Thank you. Here is a comparison of economies. China is set to 100%. So China is set to be 1. Then in cement production, America is only 5% of the Chinese production. In terms of steel production, America is only 8%. For electric cars, Americans 15%. E-commerce, we all know about Amazon being the largest e-commerce in the Western world, but it is only 30% of the Chinese e-commerce market. Automobile production, that's including the internal combustion engine. America is only 35%. For solar and wind, American, that is overestimate. I think it is not even 35%, 37%. For manufacturing, America is only half of China. For export of goods, physical goods, America is only 57%. This is according to Kevin 2030, a ex or previously Twitter user. China has been able to put some crazy ideas into reality. So I'm going to give you an example here.
Recently, news came in about another major construction project in China.
Okay, can you hear the voice from the video?
Yes.
Okay, good, because last time we can't. Let's continue.
What makes the matter worse is that China has only 9% of the world's arable land and nearly 20% of the world's population.
There's a desert transformation happening that sounds almost too wild to believe. China has done the impossible. A country once known for vast stretches of arid land is now cultivating fresh seafood in the middle of the desert. Yes, you heard that right. Imagine a place known for scorching heat by day, freezing cold by night, and endless stretches of sand, now producing tiger shrimp, abalone, and even lobster. How did this happen? Let's dive into how China has not only greened its deserts, but created a literal sea of life in some of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. 30 years ago, China's deserts were an unforgiving expanse of sun, wind, and sand. Nothing like the green, thriving landscapes we see today. The government saw untapped potential in these desolate areas, particularly for agriculture, while the world looked at deserts as barren wastelands. China envisioned something greater, fertile ground where nothing once grew. They didn't just stop at planting trees. Using cutting-edge terraforming technology, China began transforming its deserts into productive agricultural land. The Xinjiang region, home to the country's longest desert highway, was one of the focal points. Trees began lining the roads, and green fields emerged where only sand had stood for centuries. But the real breakthrough came when China took it even further. They began cultivating seafood in these newly reimagined deserts. Freshwater and saltwater fish farms have sprung up in the heart of Xinjiang. According to reports, this is all thanks to a groundbreaking project by Xishixian Aquaculture Company, founded in 2022. What makes this so extraordinary is the desert's natural salt water, which closely mimics seawater conditions. They took advantage of the saline alkaline soil, added micronutrients, and simulated marine environments to raise seafood that would typically require an ocean. In mid-August, news of this remarkable achievement spread, especially amid growing concerns over seafood security. China's response to Japan's release of nuclear wastewater, banning all Japanese seafood products, has only amplified the significance of this development. China is now in a position to provide seafood to its inland areas, making it less dependent on international imports. Xishixian's pilot project features 16 indoor ponds housed in greenhouses, which help regulate temperature differences in the desert. Currently, the company is cultivating 8 different species of seafood, starting indoors before transferring them to outdoor ponds. What seemed impossible just a few decades ago is now a reality. China has turned its barren deserts into thriving ecosystems, reshaping not only its landscape, but also its future. China has long been the world's top seafood producer, accounting for 18% of the global catch. But with geopolitical tensions, climate change, and war shaking the global food market, Beijing is more focused than ever on food security. The goal, to become more self-reliant in agriculture, and Xinjiang is playing a key role in that mission. The region is one of 7 pilot areas where China is cultivating salt alkaline rice, also known as seawater rice, to boost crop yields in tough desert conditions. Historically, Xinjiang's fish farms relied on fresh water from high-altitude lakes, fed by snowmelt and underground reservoirs. But the vision for the future is even bigger. By 2025, Xinjiang aims to produce 30,000 tons of seafood annually, part of a nationwide plan to hit a staggering 69 million tons that same year. This initiative is not just about sustainability. It's about turning a once inhospitable landscape into an agricultural powerhouse where innovation and hard work are reshaping the region's future. Xinjiang's transformation is a remarkable feat, and at the heart of it all lies Lake Boston. Located in the Xinjiang Autonomous Region, Lake Boston is no ordinary lake. It's the largest inland freshwater body in all of China. And during its peak fishing season, from August to October, it becomes a hive of activity. Since 2018, the Kaidu River has funneled 87 million cubic meters of fresh water into the lake, not only improving the lake's water quality, but also revitalizing its ecosystem. The reed beds of Lake Boston, stretching across more than 40,000 hectares, act as natural purifiers. They filter water, provide habitats for a diverse range of bird species, and sustain aquatic life. To date, over 198 species of birds have been spotted here, making it a haven for wildlife. This thriving ecosystem has turned Lake Boston into Xinjiang's largest fish production base, with over 4 tons of seafood harvested each year, including grass carp, freshwater shrimp, and crabs. One local crab farmer proudly shared that last year alone, 36 million crab seeds were released into the lake. The results? A rich harvest starting in August this year, with plans to expand farming operations to include Australian freshwater lobsters. Xinjiang's seafood production is not just a local success, it's making waves across China, with the region producing a total of 173 tons of seafood in 2022, second only to other provinces in the northwest. The dream of creating a sea in the middle of a desert may sound like science fiction, but it's a testament to China's relentless drive to innovate and thrive in seemingly impossible environments. This isn't the first time such an idea has surfaced. In fact, back in 1957, a bold plan was proposed to flood the Sahara Desert and create the so-called Sahara Sea. Scottish engineer Donald Mackenzie envisioned a 644-kilometre canal that would bring the waters of the Atlantic into the barren El Jef Basin, transforming it into a massive inland sea the size of Ireland. And he wasn't the only one. In the 1870s, Captain Francois-Élie Roudaire of the French Army had a similar vision for the Sahara, proposing a 193-kilometre canal to connect the Mediterranean Sea to a salt lake in southern Tunisia. His plan even had the backing of Ferdinand de Lesseps, the mastermind behind the Suez Canal. While neither project ever came to fruition, their ambitions sparked imaginations worldwide, even inspiring Jules Verne's 1905 novel, Invasion of the Sea. Though those early efforts failed, the dream of turning deserts into seas continues. And now, with Xinjiang leading the way, China is showing the world that with enough vision and determination, even the most desolate landscapes can be transformed into thriving ecosystems. But the idea of reclaiming deserts isn't unique to China. In Egypt, the US Atomic Energy Commission once proposed a wild plan to flood the Sahara Desert. Their Plowshare project calculated that 213 nuclear bombs would need to be detonated to carve a canal into the Qattara Depression. In a world that's running out of fertile land, China's success in reversing desertification is nothing short of extraordinary. Their ability to turn barren deserts into productive green spaces has given hope to countries grappling with this challenge. What are your thoughts on China's incredible achievements? Drop your comments below.
Okay. Now, let's look at some shorter videos. This is rice. Okay, we will take the rice seedlings, put it into a planting machines, and then this is a single person machines which will plant rice, and here another one.
Why are the Chinese leaving crabs in the paddy fields? Which is surprising everyone. You see, when paddy is planted here, small crabs are brought from the market and left in the fields. This eliminates the insects in the paddy and allows the crabs to grow. As a result, the yield of paddy is good without using pesticides. When the paddy is ready, the crabs are taken out, sold in the markets, and they earn thousands.
Can you imagine rice fields floating on water instead of rooted in soil? To adapt to the shrinking agricultural land due to urbanization, China has pioneered a water-based rice planting method. Young rice plants are grown in pots and arranged on floating plastic rafts drifting along the river. This unique approach maximizes water resources while protecting crops from pests like rats and snails. The rice ripens, the rafts are brought close to the harvesting machines, making the process highly efficient. After each harvest, the pots are collected and prepared for the next planting season, creating a sustainable and innovative agricultural system unlike it.
Okay, another one. Usually rice is only about 1.4 meters high, but China has created this giant rice, which is 2.2 meters high. And because the plant is bigger, and therefore the yield is also bigger.
If you want to see how to turn impossibilities into possibilities, then you have come to the right place. With that said, in today's video, we are going to show you how China turns its largest barren deserts into big farmlands by planting the country's one-of-a-kind rice that can grow in the desert and warm areas. So without further delay, let's get started with our story for today. Changing barren deserts into profit is not an easy task, but watch how China manages to do it. China plants upland rice on the 8th largest desert in the country. According to report, the cost of growing arid rice per acre is more than 2,000 yuan, including land, water, fertilizer, drip irrigation pipe, labor, machinery, and other costs. The program of planting in the desert has effectively curbed the expansion of desertification and helped prevent sandstorms and soil erosion and safeguard agriculture in the region. What you see in here is exactly what it is. It's not a miracle. There is actually farmland in the middle of the Kubuchi Desert in North China. Desert control is a common challenge for the international community, and China's Kabuchi Desert is offering its own solution.
Okay, so we go forward about future of energy.
In 2023, China outpaced the US by installing more solar panels in a single year than the US has managed throughout its entire history. With daring moves to ramp up solar, wind, and energy and break ground in battery tech, China is positioning itself as a leader in green energy. These ambitious steps could redefine global benchmarks. So, what's fueling this renewable energy revolution? China has significantly ramped up its solar and wind energy projects. It is the global leader in both wind and solar energy capacity. With significant projects underway and ambitious future goals, the current wind power capacity stands at approximately 310 gigawatts, with 159 gigawatts under construction. This massive scale is almost double that of the rest of the world combined. The country has become the largest developer of offshore wind power, surpassing the UK in 2021. As of mid-2023, China's offshore wind capacity reached 31.4 gigawatts. Most wind energy comes from onshore projects across provinces like Inner Mongolia, Xinjiang, and Hebei. These regions have vast expanses of land and strong, consistent wind speeds, making them ideal for wind farms. Offshore wind farms are also rapidly expanding, especially in provinces like Jiangsu, Guangdong, and Fujian. Jiangsu leads with around 12 gigawatts of installed offshore capacity. New projects in several coastal areas are under development. They will contribute to a growing offshore wind capacity of about 60.5 gigawatts. Apart from wind energy projects, its solar energy projects are extensive and impressive. There are advancements in both traditional PV and concentrated solar power, or CSP. Companies like Longyi are at the forefront of investing in research and development to improve efficiency and reduce the cost of solar technology. One notable project is the Huadian Haijing Salt PV Complementary Power Station, located in Tianjin. This project is the world's largest salt PV complementary power station, covering 3,200 acres and with a capacity of 1 gigawatt. It generates approximately 1,500 gigawatt hours annually, enough to power 1.5 million households, and significantly reduces carbon emissions by 1.25 million tons per year. The project involves solar power generation, salt production, and aquaculture. Another notable effort is the Xinjiang Kuka Green Hydrogen Pilot Project. Sinopec manufactures this in Xinjiang. It integrates a 20,000 TPA hydrogen electrolysis plant with a 300 megawatt solar power plant. The project represents a significant move towards green hydrogen production and will cut down carbon dioxide emissions by 485,000 tons annually. This initiative is part of China's broader efforts to increase its green hydrogen capacity and meet its carbon neutrality goals. It required an investment of approximately $2.13 billion and features over 5.26 million high-efficiency solar panels and extensive infrastructure, including 200.
Okay.
Albert,
We
are
just
these enterprises government paid or combination of private and government?
combination of private and government.
Uh-huh.
Usually is 51% private and 49% government. So government take a big share, but the private have the final say in order to improve technologies. And of course, with such a share from the government will have a lot of policies favorable to these organizations.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just can't move so much green energy in the country. So you have to have different kinds of joint ventures, leveraging on private in order to create the market as well as create the supplier. One implications of this I would like to add is that as China moving more and more to this renewable energy regime, and usually these machines, wind turbines or the solar panels, have a life year of about 10 years to 20 years. And is a payment recycle will take about 2 to 3 years. That means after 2 to 3 years, there is almost, except a little bit of operation cost, the energy generated is almost free. And there's one very important strategy from the Chinese government. Chinese government wants to continue to be a production center of the world. For production, among everything, you need energy. If the energy continues to depend on fossil fuel, it will be limited. Although China do have a lot of coal, but it will be cheaper if it becomes renewable. So when you've gone to a certain threshold where the renewables, which has been established a few years ago, are generating almost pure profit, then this pure profit can be used to build more new renewable energies. And then after a certain time, then you will spin into a positive loop, profit making more renewable energy installations, and that will keep the energy price down, while the rest of the world's energy will remain high due to fossil fuels. Oil is now sitting at around $80 per barrel for the last 2 years. So our petrol is sitting at $1.50 to $2. It can't go down unless the renewable really becomes a competitive edge, forcing the fossil fuels to go down. But fossil fuels has other use. For example, it can be used to make chemicals rather than being burnt. So eventually the fossil fuels, the oil, will remain at around $80 to $100 per barrel. But if you want to keep the energy low, the only way to do it is renewable. Chinese government understand that. Now, before we end, I would like to also like you to consider joining a tour I'm planning to organize in about March next year. Before 2025, December 31st, all Australian has visa-free visit to China. You don't have to you don't have to apply for a visa, which is quite expensive, about 300 Australian dollars for the visa. Now that is free.
We are interested.
Yeah, I will notify people through UVA newsletter when the tour is organized. I'm still working on it.
Yeah, good.
So I would like to take advantage of this initiative. Now, why China want to do that? We all know that the Western media is smearing China, talking about the bad things of China. So what is the best way to counter that? Well, the propaganda machines is all owned by the by the Western media. So the best way to do is invite people to come into China, have a look. Of course, when you come into China, you spend because you are visiting. You are, as a tourist, you are spending money. And that also will drive local economy. Wherever you go, you buy something from the street, from the mall, or joining tours in the hotel, whatever. Yes, you are paying money and you are spending money, and that money go to the local economy. And at the same time, show you what China is. Let you look at the cities, talk to the common people, and understand that. Another thing I like people to actually install in your machine before you go to China is install a instant translator on your smartphone so that you can speak English and then show it to the Chinese. Either you will translate it into speech or show it in Chinese characters, which Chinese. Now, today, almost all Chinese are literate, 99.8%. So you don't have to worry about the Chinese doesn't understand Chinese language. And Chinese language is the same throughout China. Maybe the dialect is different, but the language itself is the same. So, and then they can also speak Chinese into your smartphone, and then your smartphone translate it back to English for you to understand. I will recommend everybody install that during our tour so that you can actually talk to the local people when you have a chance. This has been expanding, okay? Actually, from this year's January 1st, we can already do that. And the expiry date is next year's, end of next year, 2025. We are among the second batch. Yes, we are among the second batch. We are not the first batch. But now there's 150 countries with this arrangement. We are part of them. And the date is not extended. The original date is 15 days. It's not extended to 30 days. We have almost 1 month. So I'm thinking whether we spend 1 month there or just 2 weeks. Maybe I will create 2 versions that, and then we'll go for it's not extended to 30 days.
Robin, hi there. How are you? Yeah, getting there. Good, good.
Just wanting to get the first term for next year.
No, it won't be out till the end of this week.
Albert,
Oh,
you
I thought it was the
can
25th.
mute her.
Now, okay.
Albert.
Now, because next year, first term, I'm inviting 2 guests.
Or your text.
So I'm still
your
waiting
email.
for the
I
guests.
look at my emails on my laptop.
Albert,
Oh,
please
okay.
mute.
It
Please
went
mute
to the
him.
printer this morning
Oh, okay. All right then. Okay.
at 1 a.m. this morning.
Oh, good on
Okay,
you. That's a lot of
Jenny,
work.
can you
It is
mute
a
yourself?
huge amount of
That
work.
is.
Can't you? You can. I guess
Okay,
you
I can. Okay, I have mute her. Okay,
Yeah,
anyway. So any question?
Albert, we hear a lot that America's possibly going to put in on huge tariffs on Chinese goods. What effect is that going to have on Chinese economy and manufacturing and so on?
Now, China has already moved its economy from an export oriented towards a more balanced economy. Now, in the last few years, China is the only country which will host a exhibition for importers. So importers, that means exporters from around the world, are invited to China to join an exhibition to showcase their goods in order to sell to China. The problem with China at the moment is it has been having a trade surplus for the last 40 years. That means it accumulated a lot of money outside of China. Trade surplus always stay outside of the country because if it move the surplus into the country, it means a trade and therefore reduce the trade surplus. China is making trade surplus for the last 40 years. That means it has a lot of money outside of China. So the question is how to use this money. Of course, one way is reduce export. But you will reduce export, then the question is, there are people, the workers in the factory losing jobs. So the other way to do it is increase domestic consumption so that the workers continue working for the people in China. At the moment, it depends on the goods. American has already lost its production capability, especially for white goods, refrigerators, oven, and so forth. So for this kind of goods, you raise 20%, 40% import tax, no problem to the Chinese exporter, because that will be paid by the importers from America rather than from China. That means that the American goods are going to have higher price, which will induce inflation in America. Yes, it will have impact on China because the sales might go down. But the Chinese government has a few tactics in mind. One is old replace new replace old. That means the Chinese domestic homes can use the old appliance and replace a new one with government subsidy. So the Chinese people pay, let's say, 30%, 40%, or maybe 50%, and replace a new one with better whatever, better quality, better performance, whatever. Then that will boost the consumption in China. There are several these kinds of tactics available in China. For other markets like EV, Chinese has already almost give up the American market. BYD has built a factory in Mexico, and hopefully the vehicle produced in Mexico can go into America without this import tax. Maybe, we don't know. The same thing for EU. But we also have a lot of market, almost virgin market in Africa and in the developing countries, in Asian countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and so forth. So the only way to do it is for the Chinese manufacturer to diverse their market in order to counter the impact of the trade, the import tax.
Is it true that some Chinese manufacturers are now moving to countries like Vietnam to produce their products?
Yes.
And therefore,
for example, textile, shoes are now moved to Vietnam.
But people would lose their jobs in China that used to
Yes. And they have to be reskilled to do other things. When you move from a low value production into high value production, your workers have to reskill and train. There's no other escape. So Chinese workers have to be reskilled in order to move up the value chain.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, please. I can't see your name, sorry. Yeah.
Dale, I have heard that the young Chinese people don't want to work so much these days. Have you heard that?
Almost everywhere have the same problem. For example, my daughter only works 0.8. She refused to do a full-time job. That's so common here in everywhere, including in China. Yes, a lot of young people really want to actually enjoy life, have a decent life, enjoy it, why not? And that's not a problem.
Yeah.
As long as we have people who can innovate, no matter how long it works, but if the people can innovate, get new methods. And another thing is, China is now automating productions a lot. The industrial robots, China is the largest user of industrial robots. Almost all electrical vehicles are now built by almost workerless and no worker factories, maybe with a few workers testing the vehicles and then a little bit of special assembly needing human touch. Otherwise, it's almost all robotic production. It has been like that.
If we have less people working, how do those people not working survive?
Remember when we were young, or my parents, only the husband go out to work, and then he can earn sufficient to raise the whole family. That wasn't a very long time ago. Okay, about 50 years, 60 years ago, our family have changed to double income, almost economically. So it is just a matter of changing from a double income into a single income where that income can support the whole family.
That actually, my question is related to that.
Yes, please.
With the development of technology and robots and all these things, and also this change of markets, obviously there would be, like in all these industrial countries, there would be lots of workers which will lose jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And that could, in China, it could be men and women, and in fact, it could be one family losing, both people lose jobs. What is the social system in China covering these people? Like, how do, like what Abigail said, how do they live?
Now, China has basic welfare system. And there's a saying, it is better for us to teach you how to fish instead of giving you a fish. That means it's more important to provide you a method to survive, a mechanism to work. If you are really, really low-level workers, the Chinese government created some jobs which no government will ever do. You visit China, okay, on a day maybe or on an afternoon when you are free to just walk around. First of all, it is very safe. You don't have to worry about your security. The second thing is you don't have money in you. So people will not steal from you and rob you. You can't because you carry no money. You want to buy something, use your smartphone. So as long as you hold your smartphone, you are very safe. There's no money to steal from you. And then you can go anywhere. Every about 500 meters in the street, you will see a lady, usually a lady, holding what's that? The brush, cleaning the roads and making sure that there's not even a little bit of dust on the road.
I have seen that, yes.
These are almost every 500 meters. There's one. So you can imagine how many people are employed to do that. And you ask, the productivity is really low. One woman looking after only 500 meters. And remember, every day there are cleaning trucks moving around cleaning. So she is only just walking around. But Chinese government is happy to employ these people to provide them with a living. So there is another kind of welfare system, I would say. Now today in Australia here, if you are on welfare, then our Centrelink, yes, Centrelink will force you to apply for jobs. That created a problem with the companies because a lot of these unemployed young people, because it need to meet the Centrelink requirement, send in an application which the company knows is not the kind of workers I'm looking for, but there you are receiving hundreds of applications every day once you advertise for a job. So that is ridiculous, say wasting companies' resources to sort that out to find the employee they really want.
I have another question if you have time.
Yes, and wasting somebody's time within the company as well. Not only resources. So, and of course, the unemployed look like, okay, you want the unemployed to look for jobs as a condition for them to receive the unemployment benefit. But why don't you provide them with job directly?
Yes, but back to my question, I said there are possibilities that lots of younger and, in fact, trained people, some people with the skills, particular skills that they have been trained for particular jobs, they lose their jobs because of the shrinkage of the production or availability of robots or sort of electronization and all these changes that are happening everywhere around the world, particularly in China and even more in China. So that's what I mean. For some time, it would take people to find jobs or to be re-skilled or something. Are they covered? Is there a system is system covering them?
Yes. Now, remember, China has all industrial categories listed in UN industrial categories. That means China demand all sorts of skills, from very low level routine laborer to very highly skilled. Yes. And that range is huge. So it is quite easy for somebody to fit in this wide range. Of course, there are people who can't fit in anyway. Then they probably will have to fall into the safety nets and let the government catch them by the safety nets. Otherwise, now, since 2020 December, officially, there's no more homeless people in China. Imagine that. We still have homeless people in Australia here in Melbourne. We are one of the richest, lucky countries. We have a lot of wealth in our country, but we still have homeless. But officially in China, there's no homeless people anywhere in the last 4 years. That is a remarkable achievement, and that means the safety net is working. Another issue is a lot of us are immigrants. In China, almost zero immigrants. Everybody is local. And being local means you have been in this land generations ago. So you always have somewhere to fall back. Okay, you go back to home and farm because you have farmland anyway. And you probably rent out your farmland. But if you really run out of job, you come back and then farm. Of course, farming may not make the same amount of money as a skilled worker in the factory. And that's why there was huge human migrations towards the East Coast to work in the factory in the last 30 years and so. But today, the factories are moving to the west, moving more closer to the population. So the annual migrations is steady. It's not growing. It's keeping constant. Still, a large amount of people move every Chinese New Year. Okay, as I had said, next year, first term, I still haven't fixed the time because I need to fix the time with the guests. And that will be on Chinese-Australian relationship. And second term, I hope to be a tour. So if that's the case, then we might do some videos on the tour and then we'll send out the videos as our meetings. And then the third turn, we will go back to the normal China Today discussion type of presentation. Okay, any more questions?
Thank you.
Albert, talking
Yes.
about your desert rectification, where do they get the water from out? Because the deserts are a long way from the coast.
Now, all the Chinese fresh water come from the Himalayas. And some, of course, go over the land. That is the rivers, the Yellow River, the Yangtze River, and the Pearl River. But a lot of this water also go underground in the underground rivers. So the desert in China actually have underground water running, underground rivers. So they can just find the underground rivers and then pump the water out from the underground river. And that are filled by the ice in the Himalaya.
Also on that, Alan, what is the address of that video? I'm very interested on that particular one, the desert.
Okay, the desert video, I will link it to the video of today. So you go to the description. So you do a search on China Today 2024, then you will be able to find my video on YouTube, and I will put the link. On if you want at Albert Yip, China Today 2024, you should be able to find my videos on YouTube. Okay, so I will put it there so that you can have a link. Okay, thank you so much, and we will see you next year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.